So this is the DJI RS3 Mini. It's the lighter version of the RS3 Pro. It has a lot of awesome features and just like the perfect companion for my FX30. I've been having so much fun with this thing, so let me tell you all about it.
Mr. Black.
By the way, welcome to the channel. My name's Danny Black. I love to share with you cool gear that comes my way. If you like that kind of stuff and you're new here, don't be a stranger. Click that button right there. I'll put links down in the description so you can find it nice and easily, plus a surprise link. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and get right to it. Here it is, the RS3 Mini, and before we talk about the features and do a stabilization test, let's just see what we get in the box. In the box, it's actually quite simple. We get the RS3 Mini gimbal, a small USB-C cable for camera control, a USB-C cable for charging, a mounting plate, 2 1/4-inch screws. You also get a tripod that screws in the bottom, and actually this one's really nice and sturdy compared to others in this market. This gimbal is just beautifully designed. It has a great grip for your hands. It's really comfortable to hold, and it's a 3-axis gimbal, and each axis has its own little locking mechanism. So when you are traveling, you lock all of these in place so that they're not swinging around, and then you can easily unlock them and get ready to go. Each arm also has measurements, so that way you can keep track of it and easily change between your different cameras or different lenses and the different balance points. Your camera easily pops in right here on the front, and then you lock it in place. Or if you do shoot a lot in vertical mode, you can actually remove this whole plate right here, and you can attach it on the side. That way, if you want to shoot like more professional TikToks or stories or YouTube shorts, that's how you do that. You can plug in the USB-C port here to directly connect your extra camera control. On the side of the gimbal, there's a little mount here for extra accessories. And I have to say that this one right here, this is a must-have accessory for this gimbal. It's an adjustable handle and it just snaps into place right here and you lock it in. And it is on there tight. This thing is so great if you want to have 2 hands on your gimbal, or if you want to get those low to the ground shots like this, you can hold it like a briefcase, hence the name. Once you have your camera on there and it's balanced, you can hold down the power button. There is a nice and bright touchscreen on here where you can calibrate the gimbal, you can see the motor status, you can change between different modes. There's pan follow, pan tilt follow, FPV, custom, where you can actually choose to enable or disable tilt, roll, or pan. And for some really creative shots, including that Inception roll shot, there is 3D roll. And it just keeps going round and round and round. If you swipe down, you can lock the screen, you can connect your Bluetooth, can adjust the gimbal volume, and more settings. If you swipe up, you can adjust the joystick speed and the smoothness. You can choose dial functions and dial speed. And the dial is on the front side and actually just a really great spot. Like, it's super easy to control and adjust settings like zoom or focus. And depending on your camera, you can also use the dial to change the ISO, aperture, shutter, or you can use the dial to change the roll, pan, and tilt, which is really good if you're busy doing other things with your thumb. You can use that. There is a record button to start and stop your camera, and the joystick is smooth and really easy to use. There's an M button right here to change between 3 different custom presets, or if you're shooting something with fast motion, you can hold down that M button and then you can double tap the trigger, and that will enable sport mode, which will make it a lot faster. The trigger on the back, you can hold to lock in place. So if you're getting a shot and you want to make sure it stays straight, you hold down that lock and it will lock in place. But also when you're holding down that trigger, the screen gives you the option to tap it. That way you can just lock the gimbal in place without having to hold down the trigger. When you double tap the trigger, it brings the camera back to front and center. And if you triple tap it, it actually turns it into selfie mode. Hello. And if you tap the power button, it actually puts it to sleep, so it's not draining the battery anymore. But speaking of the battery does a great job and it lasts a very long time. When you connect the gimbal to your app, you can adjust the motors and balance and see diagnostics. This is where you can also set up those 3 different custom presets. So if you have different shots in mind that you need to switch between all the time, well, that's really easy to do. When you hit create, you can access the virtual joystick. And this is great because then you can move the gimbal around remotely, you can adjust the speed and the smoothness, you can hit record. And then next to that is Force Mobile. And this is really cool because it uses the phone's accelerometer and it follows along with your phone and all the movements. And it does a great job. Look at how quick that is. You can also take full panoramic pictures and time lapses with up to 5 waypoints. That way, if you're doing a time lapse and you want to start it over here, you could set the waypoint there, then you can maybe go up to the sky, and then you can move over to this side. And you can also set the interval and duration of your time lapse as well. Now, if you have a difficult gimbal shot that you need to do, this is where you can use track. And you can actually set up your shot beforehand, set different waypoints. If it's gonna tilt this way, if it's gonna be panned that way or tilted that way, you can set those different waypoints, and you can even set the movement duration and the stay time. And then when it's all done, you just let the gimbal do all of the work. You can also connect a PS4 and Xbox controller to this, and you can control the gimbal from those controllers, which is pretty cool. This gimbal works so well, and it's very stable. I had a lot of fun shooting in the city with it. Like, here's me running across the field, and it just looks really good. A good friend of the channel, Scott Davies, he was on his EUC, and even when he's on his EUC or I'm on my electric skateboard holding this thing, you have to imagine that when you're just hand holding a camera like this, it's gonna be a bit shaky. But when you have it on a gimbal, it just looks buttery smooth. So this gimbal works so well, but also fair warning, with any gimbals, it takes a lot of practice. If you have a complicated gimbal shot, sometimes you have to do it like a bunch of times to get it right. But the more you practice, the more you learn all the features and the different movements, the better you get with it. So I'm excited to keep playing with this. I really like it a lot. I also like that this is the Mini. It doesn't take up that much space, but it also holds a hefty payload. I mean, the FX30 is a beefy camera already, and then you add on zoom lenses, you can add on that really heavy Sigma lens, and it has no problems keeping it steady. I have some other gimbals here that don't work with those lenses, and this one does, and that just makes me love it that much more. And on this channel, I'm not trying to get you to go out and spend your money, and I'm not trying to tell you what's the best thing out there or whatever, because there's always new stuff coming out. But I will say, this is awesome. I rate this really high. So if you're in the market for a gimbal like this, or if you have a bigger camera like this FX30, you should really look into this gimbal. It is so good. And stay tuned to the channel for any new updates on this, because I'll be posting them. Also, I have a lot of other really cool gear to share with you on this channel. So stick around. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Mr. Black.